Dear students, warm greetings on behalf of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Open University. Today's tele-lesson is for the MBA first year, second semester students, and the subject is organizational behavior. And in organizational behavior, dear students, today we will learn the lesson learning. Before we understand what learning is, dear students, let us try to understand the concept of learning. Like, take the example of the founder of Thyrocare, Dr. Velumani. He was from a remote village of Coimbatore. His family couldn't afford his school or college, but with lot of difficulty he did his schooling. He used to travel many kilometers on his bicycle to reach his school. Then he joined the BCom course because the BSc program was 100 rupees more than the BCom program. So he joined the BCom program. Then his teacher asked him why did he join BCom when he was interested in science. He said the fees for BCom was 100 rupees less than the BSc. So his teacher paid the 100 rupees, and that is how Velumani, the founder of Thyrocare, shifted from BCom. He studied 1 month and he joined the BSc. He did his BSc in chemistry. Later on, he was in search of jobs. He went to attend interviews for n number of jobs. He was rejected. More than 17 to 20 jobs where he attended interviews, he was rejected. The main reason for his rejection was, my dear students, that he was a fresher. He was new. He had no experience. Then later on, he got a job in one company. He worked there for 2 years for 100 rupees per month. Then that particular company got closed. Later on, he got a government job in BRAOU Atomic Research in Mumbai. So he shifted from Coimbatore to Mumbai, joined BRAOU Atomic Research. He got married and his wife also was working in State Bank of India. Then Velumani thought, this is not how I have to work. He worked for 10 or 12 years in BRAOU Atomic Research. Then he resigned and he started this Thyrocare. And now if you see, with a small investment of 1 lakh rupees what he got from the retirement fund, now if you see, Thyrocare has grown in huge volumes where the turnover is in crores. This is what is learning, by dear students, in simple terms. What Velumani did all these years was learning. He went to school to learn the subjects. He learned how to ride a bicycle so that he could reach his school. He learned the BSc chemistry subjects so that he could do his PhD in chemistry. He learned how to manage people. He learned leadership skills. He learned communication skills. So this is how he learned how to accept failures. So this is what is learning is. If you see, my dear students, learning is all about change. There should be some change, positive or negative. He also learned, my dear students, that you have to recruit a fresher. If you see, in Thyrocare, only freshers are given jobs. All the jobs are given only to newcomers because he was rejected in the jobs for the reason that he did not have an experience. So in simple terms, learning is what Mr. Velumani or Dr. Velumani has done. So my dear students, in today's tele-lesson on learning, we will talk on the introduction as to what learning is, its definition and concept. We will also learn the meaning and definition of, after learning the meaning and definition of learning, by dear students, we will learn the different factors which affects learning. Then we will learn the different theories of learning. So dear students, if you see, psychologists say that human beings, unlike animal, possesses an extremely high proportion of unused mental capacity at birth. But of course, it is unfavorable during the initial years because we need not use that particular unused mental capacity. But in later years, when we grow, this unused mental capacity will help in adapting to changing conditions and circumstances. So the unused mental capacity, what we human beings use over a period of time, in simple terms, is what learning is. So, dear students, for us to clearly understand the concept of learning, learning brings relatively permanent change in the behavior. Like all complex behavior are in simple terms called as learning. Learning involves the change in the behavior. It is a continuous process. Take the example of Velumani. It was a continuous process from the birth until now. The learning never stops. And also, my dear students, we cannot see learning, like how much of subject organizational theory and behavior I have learned, how many subjects of MBA I have learned. I cannot see, I cannot touch or see, but I can see the changed behavior as a consequence of learning. The moment I learn the subject organizational theory and behavior, there is some change. There is some added knowledge within me through the process of learning what I underwent. Let us suppose I have learned how to ride a bicycle. There is some addition within me through this particular learning process. Let us suppose I have learned how to use a computer. I have learned how to use the Microsoft Excel. So there is some addition in the knowledge, there is some change in the behavior through this learning which has happened. So dear students, learnings bring relatively permanent change in the human behavior. Learning is a continuous process. Learning cannot be seen. It cannot be seen, but we can see the changes in the behavior through the process of learning. And also, my dear students, learning changes the attitude of individual to a large extent. The moment I learn MBA, there's a change in my attitude. I know how to motivate people. I know how to lead a particular group of people because I learn leadership skills, I learn communication skills, I learn so many different skills and subjects while doing my MBA course. So an individual, dear students, reacts to any situations or responds to instructions in a particular fashion or style. All this is because the way we react is all because of the learning, what happens or what we undergo over a period of time. Dear students, now let us learn the different definitions of learning. Learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of experience. This definition is given by Stephen P. Robbins. So, Robbins defines learning as a relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of experience in our day-to-day life. There is another definition given, dear students, which tells us that learning is the process of having one's behavior modified more or less permanently by what he does and the consequence of his action or by what he observes. It may be learning, may be the consequence of his action or what we observe. Dear students, we learn many a times through observation as well. I see my teacher teaching. So through the observation in the classroom as to how my teacher teaches, I learn. I see a cricketer playing cricket in the field. So I learn how to hold a bat and play cricket. So learning happens through observations also, my dear students. Now, dear students, let us discuss the meaning of learning. There are two primary elements in the meaning of learning, dear students. One is change must be relatively permanent. In learning, change must be relatively permanent. That means after learning, our behavior must be different, either better or worse as compared to our behavior prior to the learning process. For example, my dear students, let us suppose I am learning the subject organization theory and behavior. So the learning, through this learning, my behavior should be different. It should be a little bit better than what it was earlier. There is some increase in the knowledge. That is what is learning. And it is permanent. The moment, let us suppose I have learned how to drive a car. So I have taken a course of 15 days in a driving school to drive a car. So day 1, day 2, day 3. So on day 15, my learning will be much better as compared to what I had on day 1. So there is a permanent change while I am learning. So it is much better than what I was earlier. And also, dear students, the second element in learning is the change must occur due to some kind of experience or practice. For example, if you cannot tell that any learning which happens through biological maturation is learning. For example, if the child is learning how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to drink, you don't call it learning because it comes naturally. If you are putting some effort in a learning process, in gaining knowledge, in gaining experience through practice, is what is called as learning. So I practice how to drive a car. There is an MBA examination on the subject organization, theory and behavior. I practice, I read, I learn all the 5 chapters of organization, theory and behavior for the past 10 days or 15 days. So there is some increase in knowledge through this particular learning process, and this increase in knowledge on the subject organizational theory and behavior is permanent. This is what is called as learning. It is not inborn. I have put an effort in order to learn. So this is what is learning, by dear students. After learning the concept and definition of learning, dear students, let us learn the factors affecting learning. The first factor which affects learning is motivation. In order to learn, there should be some kind of motivation. Once I learn organization theory and behavior, I will be in a position to write the exam well. I will pass my MBA degree. The moment I pass my MBA degree, or I secure an A grade in my MBA degree, I'll get a good job. The moment I get a good job, I will be paid well. So there should be some motivation. That is the first factor in learning, my dear students. The second factor in learning is practice. As we know, dear students, practice makes us perfect. So in order for this learning, we have to practice. If I want to learn a car, if I want to learn Microsoft Excel in the computer, I have to practice. If I read a book on Microsoft Excel, go and write the exam, or let us suppose I want to prepare a PowerPoint presentation for this particular tele-lesson. So I just read how to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. I do not practice on my system or a laptop or a personal computer as to how to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. I cannot because it is all through practice. It is all through trial and error. I learn how to use Excel or how to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. So second factor which affects learning is practice. So first factor, dear students, motivation. The second factor, dear students, practice. The third factor which affects learning, my dear students, is environment. We learn lot of things through the surroundings what we are in, the type of people what we meet, whom we interact, our colleagues. Let us suppose I want to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. I sit in the staff room. I observe my colleagues preparing wonderful slideshows, wonderful PowerPoint presentation through observing how they are preparing. Or let us suppose I want to learn cricket. I watch TV, I go to the ground, I see people playing cricket, I see how they catch a bat, I see how they catch a ball, how do they fielding in the field. So through observation, through the environment surrounding with me, I also learn many things. So the third important factor of learning, my dear students, is environment. And the fourth important point is the mental group, the group with whom we move with. For example, I love traveling. I may be having a group of travelers who once in a month or once in 3 months prepare an itinerary to travel all over the world. So the group will decide my learning process. So mental group, it describes our thinking, but the group of people we choose to hang out. In simple words, my dear students, we make a group of those people with whom we connect. It can be for a social cause, like plastic is not good for the environment, or it may be for a normal cause, like as I told you, it may be a group of readers, it may be a group of researchers, or all the MBA students, we form a group and learn the subject organizational theory and behavior, or all the MBA students will form a group for a placements. Like once we finish our MBA, we require good placement, so we can form a group for us all together to get a good job. So these are the different factors which influences learning, my dear students. First one is motivation, second one is practice, third one is the environment in which we move, the fourth one is the group in which we are associated with. There are different theories of learning, my dear students. Let us learn all the different theories, where we start with the first theory, the classical conditioning theory. This theory was evolved by a Russian psychologist, Ivan Pavlov. He started observing dogs. When the lab technician used to get food inside to feed the dog, before the lab technician used to give the food to the dog used to start to salivate. So, by observing the dog salivate by the entering of the technician, Pavlov came up with this concept called as classical conditioning theory. Let us discuss what this classical conditioning theory is with another example, my dear students. For example, a person who experiences anxiety when they hear a particular music that was playing during a car accident. A person meets a car accident and he was hearing a particular music during that particular accident. So, unconsciously in his brain, the accident, the music get registered. So, the major accident that inherently causes worry is the major incident that inherently causes worry in his mind is the car accident at first. But the music playing during the accident is a neutral stimulus. Even though music does not create an accident, unconsciously the person, because while listening to that music he met with an accident, whenever he hears the music he gets disturbed. He feels the car or there may be an accident which may be happening. Let us take another example, my dear students. Let us suppose there is an uncle or an auntie or a person with a very loud sound. So, the loud voice was a neutral stimulus which Pavlov calls as S1, the loud voice. Let us suppose I have a loud voice. The loud voice, what I have is a natural stimulus. The voice what I have is natural. It has come naturally. So, loud voice, what I have is natural, which you can call it as ES1. That caused the natural fear in the child. The moment whenever a child sees me, because of the loud voice of mine, she gets frightened. There is some fear in her. So, that you can call it as a reaction or R1. Then let us suppose I am a male and I have a mustache in me. So, the moment the child sees me, even though the mustache doesn't create any fear, but automatically the loud voice and the mustache she gets connected. The moment she sees me and the mustache, she gets a fear in her. So, that is what is called as classical conditioning. Even though the mustache was originally a neutral syllabus stimuli S2, it was incapable of causing a fear. Over a period of time, after some conditioning, the voice without a mustache or a voice along with a mustache automatically creates fear in that particular child. Let us just understand this particular concept of classical conditioning with what Ivan Pavlov has said with this particular picture, my dear students. I divide this picture into 4 parts. One is before conditioning, second one is before conditioning. For the first and second is before conditioning, the third one is during conditioning, the fourth one is after conditioning. Before conditioning, my dear students, whenever the lab technician used to get food, the dog used to salivate. That is, unconditional stimulus is the food, unconditional response is the salivation of that particular dog. I repeat, my dear students, before conditioning, the dog was not conditioning. Whenever the lab technician used to get food, it is called as unconditional stimulus. The dog used to salivate. This was measured, how much of salivation the dog is doing, Pavlov measured. Then later on, he changed. He used to whistle. A whistle sound was given to the dog. That is called as a neutral. The whistle is a neutral stimulus. The dog did not salivate. Hearing the whistle sound or a sound of a bell, the dog did not salivate. So, this is all before conditioning. Later on, Pavlov changed the experiment. What he did was, he first gave a sound through the whistle or rang a bell, then he gave food to the dog. So, by seeing the food, the dog started salivating. So this experiment was repeated over a period of time, where first a sound, a whistle sound or a sound of a bell came. Along with the sound, food used to come. So the dog conditioned itself, thinking that the moment a whistle is heard or a sound is heard, the sound is attached to the food. So immediately hearing the sound, the dog starts salivating. So during conditioning, my dear students, the sound of the whistle and the food, there is an unconditional response, that is the salivation which the dog has done. Later on, over a period of time, the dog got conditioned, sound and food. So both comes together. So that is what is called as conditioned stimuli, sound plus food. So after a period of time, just by hearing the sound of the bell or a whistle, the dog started salivating. Even though there was no food attached to it, even though the technician came only with the sound or ringing of a bell or a whistle, without the food, the dog started salivating. That is, whistle or the sound is a conditioned stimulus, that is, and salivation is a conditioned response. So without food also, by hearing the sound of the bell, the dog started salivating. So as per Pavlov, he identifies 4 essential elements of learning, my dear students. The first one, as per the experiment, whatever we have discussed, it is unconditional stimulus, the natural stimulus that causes a natural response. In Pavlov's experiment, the food was the unconditional stimulus. The second one is unconditional response, the natural response caused to the natural stimulus. In our experiment, the salivation of the dog was the unconditional response. The third one is conditioned stimulus, the neutral stimulus that does not naturally cause the target response but may not do so after being associated with the unconditional stimulus. For example, in this experiment, the sound of the bell was the conditioned stimulus. The fourth one is conditioned response, the target response similar to the unconditional response. That is, earlier only through food, by seeing the food, the dog used to salivate. Later on, just by the sound of the whistle or the bell, the dog starts salivating. So this is what is conditioned response. You must remember here that the unconditioned response and conditioned response are similar but not the same. Dear students, here Pavlov noticed that the amount of salivation was less in response to the bell in comparison to the original salivation in response to the food. So after learning the classical conditioning theory, dear students, let us learn the operant conditioning theory. As per the operant conditioning theory of learning, employees react only for rewards and punishment. That is, their behavior is associated with two: one reward, two punishment. That is, through operant conditioning, an association is made, dear students, between a behavior and a consequence. It may be a negative or a positive for that behavior. For example, there was an experiment done on rats. When lab rats, they were kept in a cage and there were two bells in that particular cage, a red bell and a green bell. The moment the rat pressed the green bell, food, they used to receive food to eat. The moment the rat pressed the green bell, food used to come. Second, the moment the rat pressed the red bell, it received a mild electric shock. So after one or two incidents, the rat started knowing, oh, the moment I press a green bell, a green button, I get food to eat, good. The moment I press a red button, I get an electric shock, bad. So I should not press the red button, I should only press the green button. So I should avoid the red one and I should go only for the green one, because green will give me food, red will give me a shock. So my dear students, this particular concept of operant conditioning was given by B.F. Skinner. He is the person who has come up with this particular concept of operant conditioning theory. So on the basis of the result of a behavior such as punishment or reinforcement, good, bad, it is either enhanced or diminished. The moment I press the green button, I get food. So I do it more number of times because I am rewarded. The moment I press a red button, I get punished because I get an electric shock. I reduce. I do not do it more number of times. Over a period of time, I stop pressing the red button. So that is what is called as operant conditioning theory. For example, my dear students, there is one student, Mr. X. This Mr. X, once he does homework, every time he does homework, his parents give him a chocolate. So this chocolate what he gets over while he finishes the homework is what is called as an operant conditioning. Moment I finished a homework, I will get chocolate. If I do not finish the homework, I will not get a chocolate. This is what is called as operant conditioning. So in order to get chocolate, I have to finish a homework. So we will all engage. So in dear students, in operant conditioning theory of learning, we all engage in behaviors that we know will lead to good outcomes. So which will lead to good outcomes. So doing homework, I get a chocolate, I repeat. Not doing homework, I get punished, I will not repeat. So this is what is called as operant conditioning. In operant conditioning, there is a simple concept called as the law of effects given by Thorndike's. It is also called as the Thorndike's influence. So according to this law of effects principle, my dear students, actions that are followed by the desirable outcomes are more likely to be repeated, while those followed by undesirable outcomes are less likely to be repeated. Green button, food, repeat. Red button, shock, do not repeat. So this is what is called as Thorndike's influence. Otherwise, let us understand this Thorndike's influence in another example. Let us suppose a student asks a question, raises his hands and asks a question in the classroom. The teacher appreciates, rewards and tells, very good, you have asked a question, she answers. That is, so next time the student, whenever he has a doubt, he will raise his hand and ask a question. Another example, let us suppose a student raises his hand, asks a question, the teacher immediately starts scolding. Why did you raise? Why are you asking a question? Didn't you understand? So next time the student will not raise the hand to ask a question. So that is what is called as operant conditioning theory. In operant conditioning theory, dear students, there are two types of reinforcements. Reinforcements means it is any event that strengthens or increases the behavior it follows. For example, positive reinforcements. Positive reinforcements are favorable events or outcomes that are presented after the behavior. That is, for example, if you are doing a good job, you get a bonus. Bonus is a positive reinforcer. Or for example, you learn organizational theory and behavior. You present in your class, you get rewarded for the presentation. That is what is called as positive reinforcer. There's a dog in your house, you train the dog, you throw a ball and you train the dog to get that particular ball. That is what is called as positive reinforcer. Reinforcement can be negative also, my dear students. Negative reinforcements involves the removal of the unfavorable events or outcomes. For example, the teacher tells tells the student that if you have perfect attendance in the class, like you are attending your MBA classes, and the teacher tells if you have perfect attendance in the class in all semesters, all the four semesters, dear students, then you do not have to take the final examination. So by removing an unpleasant stimulus that you have removed the unpleasant stimulus, that is to write the final exam. That is, if you get full attendance, you need not write the exam, you will get full marks. So that unpleasant stimulus, that is writing the exam, is eliminated, and that is what is called as negative reinforcement. That is, by removing an unpleasant stimulus, that is writing the final exam, students are negatively reinforced so that the students attend the class regularly. Punishment is also negative reinforcement, dear students, and let us discuss what is punishment in operant conditioning. Punishment is a presentation of all adverse events or outcomes that causes a decrease in the behavior. For example, there may be a positive punishment. For example, if you fail to complete a project on time, your boss becomes angry and he berates you in front of your subordinates. So this acts as a positive punisher, so that next time you avoid not to complete your project, because the moment you do not complete your project, your boss will scold you in front of your juniors. So in order to avoid that particular scolding, you will finish your job. That is what is positive punishment. Second one is negative punishment. For example, you tell your child to finish the homework. She continuously goes on playing a video game. You just snatch the video game from her, tell her to finish her homework. So that is what is called as negative punishment. So this is punishment by removal occurs when a favorable event or outcome is removed after the behavior, is what is called as negative punishment. After learning the operant conditioning theory, my dear students, let us learn the social learning theory. So according to the social learning theory, Albert Badudara, this is the man who has come up with this particular theory called as social learning theory. He tells that learning will happen, or you learn new skills through seeing, copying and imitating other people's conduct in social situations. Like I see a cricketer playing cricket. So by seeing him, by watching him over TV, watching the match in the ground, I learn how to catch a ball, how to catch a bat. I learn otherwise I observe my teacher teaching in the classroom. I imitate the voice, I imitate the body language of the teacher while teaching. So many of the time, how to ride a bicycle, how to write a poem, anything it may be. Let us suppose there may be a wonderful leader in my organization. I love, or I always praise his leadership skills. I see somebody speaking having good communication skills. So many of the times we learn through seeing, copying and imitating other people's conduct in social situations. So this is what is called as social learning. So social learning theory is given by Badudara. He suggests that people learn by observing others. It emphasizes the importance of imitation, modeling and reinforcement in the learning process. Social learning happens through attention. If I want to learn, first I have to be attentive. I have to see what people are doing. Let us suppose I want to learn the leadership skill. I admire the leadership skill of my boss. So first I have to be attentive. I have to see what he is doing, what type of leadership skills he has. Second one is retention. I should remember the different types of actions, different types of things he does in order to lead the organization. So that is what is retention. The fourth one is motor reproduction, that I should be in a position to reproduce the learning what I have learned. That is what is called as motor reproduction. So the fourth one is motivation. I should also have the motivation to reproduce. If I imitate the leadership skills, then I can also be a better leader tomorrow, is what is called as social learning theory. So we also have this experiential learning theory, which talks about concrete experiences, reflective observations, abstract conceptualization and active experimentation, dear students. So in a nutshell, learning is a constantly evolving and intricate phenomena that involves gaining new knowledge, skill and understanding. In the end, learning is a continuous process of personal development and exploration that equips people to prosper in a world that is constantly changing. Thank you.